morning, everyone. Welcome to the Word of the Day for Saturday, September 20th. I'm your host, Rene Holaday, and this morning we have an interesting random turning that comes to us from First Chronicles chapter 28 that reads under the title, Solomon Instructed to Build the Temple. Now, what's interesting about this random turning is that both Mike Huckabee and Marco Rubio just were in Jerusalem, and they were uh, taking a lot of time and making a big note about the very important archaeological findings that they are discovering in the city of David. And so, as you know, this is a hotly contested little piece of ground because, like it says here, it describes that uh, what they're uncovering is the pilgrimage road that goes through the city of David, where this pilgrimage road would have been a place where Jesus himself would have walked. And so it describes that U.S. officials Marco Rubio and Mike Huckabee visited the City of David archaeological site in Jerusalem, and the trip included the inauguration of a newly excavated section of the pilgrimage road believed to have been used during the Second Temple period. They also toured the Western Wall and its adjacent tunnels. And then it also describes that the visit was met with both support and criticism, highlighting the political sensitivities of archaeology in Jerusalem, and that the city of David and its site, the dig, is located in the Palestinian neighborhood of Silwan in East Jerusalem and is viewed by critics as a way to cement Israel's claims to the area. The global heritage body UNESCO has opposed the park's construction. And so what's interesting here is that this is kind of a hotly debated political issue because the Muslims are trying to claim something that has belonged to the Jews for over 4,000 years. And so, the fact that they're digging up the city of David and finding all of this archaeological proof while you have these Muslims that are trying to claim it as their own. And so, how very interesting also that in this time that the UN is involved in this particular issue, this particular area, and also on September 23rd, they are planning to recognize the Palestinian state. And so here we have the Feast of Trumpets on the 23rd. We have the UN that is planning to recognize a Palestinian state in Jerusalem and or on the east side of Jerusalem. And this is, that is absolutely outrageous. God's not going to stand for that for a single second. That has never belonged to the Muslims. It never will. And we know this for a fact that they have no right by looking at the new millennium and what Jesus does to everyone that is not a Jew in all of Israel. They're either slain or they're forced out because he gives all of that land back to the 12 tribes, and each tribe has their own designated area and amount of land. And so God is, God does not change. That has been the land that he has planned to give to the Jews and gave to the Jews a very long time ago, and he intends to have them keep it all the way through the new millennium. And so very interesting that, here they've got proof, they don't even need proof. I mean, it's just so ridiculously obvious that Israel has always belonged to the Jews. That's how it is. Ask God. And so the fact that the random turning comes to us today from First Chronicles 28 is very interesting. So let's jump right in and see what it has to say. It says here, now David assembled at Jerusalem all the leaders of Israel, the officers of the tribes and the captains of the divisions who served the king, the captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, and the stewards over all the substance and possessions of the king and of his sons, with the officials, the valiant men, and all the mighty men of valor. Then King David rose to his feet and said, "Hear me, my brethren and my people. I had it in my heart to build a house of rest for the ark of the covenant of the Lord and for the footstool of our God." And he made preparations to build it. But God said to me, "You shall not build a house for my name, because you have been a man of war and have shed blood. However, the Lord God of Israel chose me above all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he has chosen Judah to be the ruler, and of the house of Judah, the house of my father, and among the sons of my father, he was pleased with me to make me king over all Israel. And of all my sons, for the Lord has given me many sons, he has chosen my son Solomon to sit on the throne of the kingdom of the Lord over Israel. Now he said to me, It is your son Solomon who shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. Moreover, I will establish his kingdom forever, if he is steadfast to observe my commandments and my judgments, as it is this day. Now therefore, in the sight of all Israel, the congregation of the Lord, and in the hearing of our God, be careful to seek out all the commandments of the Lord your God, that you may possess this good land and leave it as an inheritance for your children after you forever. As for you, my son Solomon, know the God of your father and serve him with a loyal heart and with a willing mind, for the Lord searches all hearts and understands all the intent of the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found by you, but if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever. Consider now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it. Then David gave his son Solomon the plans for the vestibule, its houses, its treasuries, its upper chambers, its inner chambers, and the place of the mercy seat, and the plans for all that he had by the Spirit, of the courts of the house of the Lord, of all the chambers all around, of the treasuries of the house of God, and of the treasuries for the dedicated things, also for the division of the priests and the Levites, for all the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and for all the articles of service in the house of the Lord. He gave gold by weight for things of gold, for all articles used in every kind of service. Also, silver for all articles of silver by weight, for all articles used in every kind of service. The weight for the lampstands of gold, and their lamps of gold, by weight for each lampstand and its lamps, for the lampstands and its lamps according to the use of each lampstand. And by weight he gave gold for the tables of showbread for each table, and silver for the tables of silver. Also pure gold for the forks of the basins, the pitchers of pure gold, and the golden bowls. He gave gold by weight for every bowl, and for the silver bowls, silver by weight for every bowl, and refined gold by weight for altar of incense, and for the construction of the chariot, that is, the gold cherubim that spread their wings and overshadowed the ark of the covenant of the Lord. All this, said David, the Lord made me understand in writing by his hand upon me all the works of these plans. And David said to his son Solomon, Be strong and of good courage, and do it. Do not fear nor be dismayed, for the Lord God, my God, will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you until you have finished all the work for the service of the house of the Lord. Here are the divisions of the priests and the Levites for all the service of the house of God. And every willing craftsman will be with you for all manner of workmanship, for every kind of service. Also the leaders and all the people will be completely at your command. Well, there you have it. With the United Nations trying to claim that that belongs to the Palestinians, that is a laughing matter. And especially when the fact that, I mean, that's preposterous. First of all, even just the notion that they think they have any claim to anything in Israel is such a joke. I mean, the history of the Bible is so, um, I mean, you can't get past the history of the Bible. All generations of humanity know about the Jews being in Israel. It's written not just in the Bible, it's written in all other nations' historical texts as well, because Who did they fight? Who did the Egyptians fight? They fought the Jews. Who did the Assyrians fight? They fought the Jews. Who did Nebuchadnezzar, in Babylon fight? He fought the Jews. I mean, and it's in all of their records that they fought the Jews who lived in Israel. And so, especially with this recent archaeological excavation of the city of David, it's it's just absolutely preposterous that the United Nations is going to try to recognize that the Palestinians have any claim on anything. They have no claim on anything at all. God gave all of that land to the Jews. And it's not even just for the past. I mean, all you have to do is look at the new millennium and see what Jesus does with all of that land and how he gives it all back to the 12 tribes of Israel. Basically, the all of it is divided up evenly for all of the 12 tribes. And the part that we're going to be included in is in the house of the Lord. In my Father's house are many mansions, or better translated more recently as rooms, according to Hebrew. And so we have rooms within his house in the holy district. And so because we are his bride, and we are going to be the ones that are in charge of his courts and will be judging with him. And so it's just fascinating, such a fascinating thing that this is a random turning for today, and especially in light of the fact that Marco Rubio and Mike Huckabee were just there. And Mike Huckabee and Marco Rubio, they both spoke in front of the press to Netanyahu and made it perfectly clear that the city of David is of absolute Jewish importance, and it's also of absolute Christian importance because Jesus was a Jew. And anybody that knows anything about the new millennium that's a Christian knows that that is where Jesus is going to be, and that is where Jesus is going to have King David as the prince that is going to be leading all of us in and out each day and be in charge of all of the feasts and festivals and all of the burnt offerings and free will offerings to the Lord. And so, fascinating to see this. Well, also, there's one thing that I'm going to share with you from the Bible notes that is really interesting. In verse 9, it says, "As for you, my son Solomon, know the God of your father and serve him with a loyal heart and with a willing mind, for the Lord searches all hearts and understands all the intent of the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found by you, but if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever." Well, so the word wealth here in my Bible describes the word loyal. It says shalem, and it means at peace. Loyal means at peace, reward. An adjective deriving from the root for peace, which is shalom, which is also the root of Solomon's name. It can mean peaceable or friendly, as in Genesis 34:21, or full, as in Ruth chapter 2, verse 12. The underlying sense of whole or complete is also evident in Deuteronomy 27:6, where it's described as the definition being more appropriate as whole, and 1 Kings 6, verse 7 as complete. The translation given here is also often rendered perfect heart or whole heart. So loyal is a perfect heart, whole heart. And here's the thing too, is this is also God puts much weight on loyalty, doesn't he? Because what is all the things that he describes that will not be allowed into his kingdom are things like adulterers, liars, the sexually immoral. And why is that? Because adulterers are not loyal. They have no loyalty, and God requires loyalty. And lying, I mean, that is absolutely an unloyal thing to do. That is actually an enemy attack, basically. And so it's no wonder that loyalty is the root of all of the things that he puts weight on. The things that will not be allowed in his kingdom are lacking loyalty. And so, very interesting to take note of there. And so, well, that does it for today. I hope this was a blessing to you. Fantastic reading, especially with all of the cool archaeological things that we can watch on YouTube that are going on in Israel. And I'm a big buff on that. I really, really love to do that on Saturdays because it's God is uncovering all of the treasures, all of the hidden proof that that he has had with that land and with those people for thousands and thousands of years. And I love to watch all of the revelation of all of these digs. And so how fantastic this whole cool huge archaeological dig was such a big deal that Marco Rubio and Mike Huckabee went over there to see it and to acknowledge it from the United States, saying, hats off to King David. He's the backbone of Jesus and Christianity, and we get to look forward to having him again with us in the new millennium. And so, all right, everyone, you all have a restful, holy, keep it holy Sabbath. And I'll see you again Monday morning because that's when it gets crazy. That's when it gets crazy. We're approaching Feast of Trumpets. So, yikes. Okay, it's going to be awesome. All right, everyone. You all have a restful, wonderful day.